There you go. Hello, everyone. Um, let's bind these choppy internet devils in the blood of Jesus, because I don't know what's happening on my end. I don't know if it's the internet or if it is my computer. Can't tell in this moment. But anyway, if you can hear me and hopefully not choppy, comment 32 years in the chat to let me know that you can hear me. And it looks like things are looking good. I'm watching y'all over here on YouTube on the screen. All right, 32 years. Thank you, Sean McCain. Okay, there you go. And that chat is moving. Anyway, it's been a whirlwind. And I thought, because one of the reasons I didn't go live yesterday or had all these issues was because of where I was staying in St. Louis for Travell's hearing. The internet was horrible. And so I was like, you know what? I just got to get back home. And I didn't have a direct route home because I had to stop somewhere else without telling y'all all my business. And so that's how we got to today. But what's up to everyone in YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch land? Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for your patience with us being a day behind with getting this information out to you of what occurred for the sentencing of Travell Anthony Hill. We do know that he received 32 years concurrently, and I accidentally yesterday when I was leaving court typed consecutively, which is not. It's concurrent, which means they run at the same time, which means he got basically 32 years. So he's serving both counts, 32 years apiece, but he's serving them at the same time. So he'll be in prison until he is 63 years old, if I'm not mistaken, because I think he's 31 now, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all can correct me in the chat below if I have his age wrong, but I feel like he was 31. Anyway, please remember to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. Remember to share this content as well. That also helps us grow. Also, don't forget about our VIP text community. It is a way for you to connect with this community and also receive updates, notifications of when I post new videos related to this and otherwise, and basically how we grow our community. One of the things, and this is a way for you to also communicate with me one-on-one. I get a lot of messages, so sometimes it takes me a while. Sometimes you look up and you send a message right when I'm on there and I see it right away. But one of the things that's come out of and this is a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who are not really a part of the community, you either got to bear with it, pause, go get a snack. But this is me talking to the fam. But with our VIP community, I get a lot of messages. And recently I've been getting more requests to communicate things to the group. And unfortunately, because of the way that it's set up, where I literally have to text you guys and it's, pinging to everyone's phone, everyone doesn't want that sort of information. And so I'm trying to be respectful of that. But I do want us to be able to connect with each other in that way. And so what I did based on like today's message I got from someone who wanted to share a job posting, and it's a virtual job posting. So you can work, you can live anywhere. And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff I really want to do with our community. And so, but I don't want to text everyone to say, hey, somebody's hiring in this state and da da da. So what I decided to do was create a private Facebook group for our community, for our VIP community. So I can share those sort of things with you. Some people have had, a person had a tragedy in their life, and I just couldn't text the whole group that, but that's something we can share in our Facebook group. And so the name of the group is Vail's Important People Community. I know it's long as hell. And it's, if you go to my I Am Vail B Facebook page, it should be connected. I don't be on Facebook like that, so I'm trying to get used to how to use it. But Vail's Important People Community. And if I can figure out a way to get a link from it, I'll send that in our VIP community as well. Or I'll screenshot it so you guys will know where you can find it. And so that'll be a way where we can all, you guys can interact with each other, basically, is what I want. And me to be able to post those things that some people care about and other people don't, versus me texting everybody everything. And yeah, that would make a lot of people unsubscribe. So we ain't trying to do that. But yeah, so anyway, I did state, my apologies for not going live last night, but I'm here. I'm only one man. So I'm here. And trust me, it's well worth the wait. Also, I'm on a side note with the VIP community. I was asking for suggestions of Chinese food restaurants in St. Louis from those of you who were in Missouri. And I got many recommendations, but one won out. And at the end of this live, just for the sake of those who could care less about us as a community, I'll share the story of who won, what restaurant won, and how it was, because I did get a chance to get Chinese food while in Missouri. So anyway, let's get into it. Remember, housekeeping, remember to be kind, be respectful in the comments. Please do not type the words murder or ill with a K. And if you do any of that, even by accident, our great moderators on the YouTube side will be more than happy to delete that comment for you. And if you have a hard time being respectful to other people, they can help you find a new YouTube home. So with that, let's get into it. So what I noticed yesterday, so now we're into it. Picture this. Picture this. What I noticed yesterday was I was rusty as hell after just a couple weeks because I realized as things were starting to roll in court yesterday that I wasn't taking notes. I was sitting there talking, and then it all of a sudden hit me. I was like, oh, wait, I should have been taking notes. Like, people were coming in and all of that, and I wasn't noting. I was looking, but I wasn't even thinking to write the stuff. So anyway, bear with me, but it still gets good. Trust me. I kicked in. My brain kicked in at a certain point. So before the hearing, I saw a lot of the same marshals who, our block game is strong. Thank you, thank you for that. But the same marshals who had been there, who worked for the court building, who had been there during our time there, they were still there. So it was kind of cool seeing. It's like once you've been going to something every day like that, you start to, connect with people and, even just saying hi or whatever. So that was kind of cool. It felt familiar, and it was so funny going through the security line. They usually ask you, do you know where you're going or why are you here, kind of thing. And one of the security guys was like, I know you know where you're going. And I was like, yeah, I do. So it was kind of cool. So anyway, get to the courtroom. There weren't as many. It was busy because you saw there were a lot of marshals there, even more than just the court building marshals who are normally there with their blue suits and all of that. It was additional marshals. So there were not as many people from the public. I want to say there were less than 10 people from the public. Probably not even near that. Probably 6 people from the public. And then there were 3 of us. No, 2 of us. No, 3 of us, counting myself, from the media. J So Extra, that's her old YouTube name, so I'm used to calling her that. But Jay from Today's Celebrity News, she was there. She's gonna definitely have an update video, if it's not already out. But she said within the next day or so, she's putting her video out. And then Aaron from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So that was all the media, and myself, of course, me. That was all of the media that were there. So you're pretty much getting an exclusive. Besides, and then you're getting the nosy neighbor version over here. Y'all already know how it works. So anyway, the Griggs family comes in, and it was 7 of them. So you had Mama Griggs, who is Michelle Griggs' mom. You had Kaylin, who is Dre's sister. You had Darren, who is Dre's brother. I think the uncle was there. It was an older gentleman. I think it's Dre's uncle. I don't recall, unless I'm mistaken, I don't recall him coming to the trial at all. I could be wrong. He was not there daily for sure. Maybe he came once or twice, and maybe I'm just forgetting. But I don't think I've ever seen him in person for sure. And then it was Dre's sister, youngest sister, and the advocate who is normally there. Now, what I noticed when they came in, I was expecting them to sit in the same area they normally sit in, which would be in front of me on the left side of the courtroom, which is also right in front, where right in front of them is the jury and the plaintiff side, where the government was sitting. On yesterday, the advocate, they actually, some of them had come in and they started to sit in that area. And then the advocate came in and basically waved them to come sit on the entire other side of the courtroom. And I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. And so they sat over there. And then I'm sorry, some of them had on their Justice for Andre t-shirts, those yellow shirts. Hold on, I forgot I had pictures and stuff for y'all. Hold on. Bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. I'm a little rusty with this. So some of them had on the yellow shirts that you see here, the Justice for Dre t-shirts. And so who I saw yesterday was Darren, the brother, who is to your left. And then Mama Griggs, who is the fourth person over from your left. And then Michelle Griggs, of course, next to her. The auntie, this is the auntie next to her. I think that's the aunt. She wasn't there. And then his youngest sister, who is in the green t-shirt, and then his other sister, Kaylin. Those were the ones who were there. And then you had the uncle, and then there was a younger teenage looking guy there who I didn't remember seeing before either. So maybe that's the uncle's son. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm nosy neighbor right here. Speculating. I don't know. Nobody told me nothing. Okay, so let's see. So then what I noticed was when they escorted Travell in, they set him where the government had sat during the trial, which would have been directly in front of the Griggs had they sat where they sat during the trial. So then it made sense to me. I was like, oh, they set them on the other side because Travell is sitting here. This is the side for him. And the government actually had moved over to the area where Tim had sat originally. I wish I had a thought to bring up the courtroom floor plan I had drawn, because for those of you who don't remember. But anyway, that's how that was going. So Travell was escorted in. He had on that bright orange jumpsuit. It would look dirty. This one looked a little dingy. The one he had on for court was very bright and seemed a little fresher. He had on that dingy long john shirt. A lot of people were explaining to me in conversations and messages about how this whole thing works with prison outfits and why Terica was way lighter than she had been in those other photos. And things they were saying made sense once I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like people were saying, well, she hasn't seen sun in 2 years. Like, I don't know if she even get an hour outdoor or if it's real outdoor time. So she's not in the sun. So that they say a lot of people, they get lighter when they're in prison like that. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. The other thing that was mentioned was, him having the long sleeve, long john shirt on, as well as Terica had one on. The fact that Tim was wearing turtlenecks while the weather was 80 degrees for us, basically the whole 7 days or so that we were going to court, the weather was very nice in Missouri. And so technically Tim was overdressed for that kind of weather, but they were saying that it's very cold in the holding cell back there in the court where they have Tim. And on top of that, the reason he was repeating outfits is because, he's in prison. So they only can give him 1 or 2 outfits. And they were saying even the fact of him having 3 outfits to kind of rotate through was pretty generous. And on top of that, the reason he didn't have on a tie for any of those looks was because of the fact that, the chance that somebody could take themselves out, in a holding cell and use that to take themselves out. So all that made sense. So anyway, moving back to this. So he had on the orange jumpsuit. Travell had on the orange jumpsuit. He had on a face mask once again. So I don't know if that's a requirement of the prison system he's in, because no one else wore masks. Terica didn't have one. Tim never had one, at least out in the court area. And but Travell has had one both times, and I just don't think it's him saying, I want to have the mask because I want to be safe. But this time it wasn't the coordinating neon orange mask that he had the first time. This time it was just a regular blue metal, the little light blue medical mask that you see around. So he had that. It was over his face. And Jay noticed from today's Celebrity News, she noticed, she was like, Travell has gained some weight. And I didn't notice at first, but we were able to see him more in full view because unlike the first time when he came during the trial to testify, he came through the prisoner door, but the ramp to come up to the witness stand is very close to the door. Like immediately you're it's almost obstructing your view of the person walking, at least waist high or so. So we didn't really notice, but it was very clear yesterday because we got to see full body for, as he walked to the desk. He has like a pot belly now. So he's still slender-ish, but he has like, you see the skinny people with the pot belly. He got a pot belly. He got a dad bod, basically. He also has, his hair has grown out. To me, it seemed like his hair had actually grown out quite a bit, even since he testified. And that was only a couple of weeks ago. So what I noticed about his hair is he has a starter fro. So it maybe half an inch fro, about this much. But you can tell he's picking it out and all of that. So maybe, in a little while, he gonna have locks or braids or something. So what else we got? So as far as the marshals, I didn't say that there was a lot of marshals in there. I didn't count. I didn't do what I normally do and say who had on what and all of that. What I did notice, though, was there were marshals posted at every entrance to the court. So the prisoner entrance, where the jury was going in and out of, and the main entrance that we all come out of in the back of the court, there were marshals posted up. In addition to the ones who just kind of worked the court building, there were additional marshals. And it was the same appearance that I remember seeing when Tim was when we were about to get the verdict. Like every day, it wasn't like that. Like you would only see the marshals who brought in Tim and then the courtroom marshals. So it'd be maybe 2 or 3 of them. But that verdict day, it was probably 10 or more, about 10, about maybe 10 or a little bit more, 10 to 12 of them. So it felt like that yesterday. So I think the whole thing was we're reading his sentence just in case he go crazy and say, hey, let me take a run for it. They were ready. They were ready. So what I also have here, now we're moving into the action. Like now we're getting started with things. So what I have written here is a disclaimer that we need transcripts of what occurred on yesterday because it was moving so fast and there was so much happening with people talking that it was different than the trial where it was question and answer, people thinking, the attorney taking a minute to see what their next question was going to be. That gave me time to jot down what I needed to jot down. Yesterday was just talking. It's just like me talking now. If you guys were trying to transcribe what I'm saying, it was too much to keep up to. So hopefully we'll get transcripts for this. And then, because it's a lot that I couldn't write. And it was, it's stuff that I would want y'all to know that I couldn't keep up, y'all. I couldn't keep up. But I still got the heavy stuff. So, so Judge Ross, we were told to all rise. Judge Ross comes into the courtroom, tells us, we could be seated. He then he reminds us, as he did when Tim's verdict was about to be read, that we cannot speak out, can't yell out nothing. We can't, have any major reactions or whatever to anything that is said or done during those proceedings. He then begins to address Travell's attorney, who is Peter Cohen. And he basically, this stuff was moving fast, so I didn't write, but he was just basically asking him, is your attorney prepared? I mean, not your attorney. Is your client prepared? Did you get a chance to do what you got to do with him? That's my layman's term. That's my nosy neighbor terms of what happened. Then Judge Ross advised advised Travell and his attorney that they can remain seated at the conference table because it had like a little Price is Right mics, got Price is Right mics in front of every person. And it was basically a conference table and they're kind of sitting around it. And he was advising them that, you know, they don't have to make it formal and stand up or come to the podium to answer or respond to anything that he's about to say. He just asked them to speak into the mic. And then he also asked Travell at that point to speak into the mic, but also lower his mask so that he can speak into the mic if he didn't mind. So Judge Ross then began to say that the last time that Travell had been there for his own case, not Tim's, we're not talking about him testifying, but we're talking about the last time that Travell was there for his own situation was on June 3rd of 2020. And that was when he appeared for the 2 counts. Can someone put in, I'm truly a nosy neighbor because I don't keep up with the information of the facts. It's kind of like I just remember the gossipy stuff. Could y'all put in the chat the charges that Travell was found guilty of and what he pled guilty to? For those who care about that sort of thing, because I didn't write them down, and yeah, I didn't. So Judge Ross then asks, is it correct that he's talking to Travell? He says, is it correct that you pled guilty to said 2 counts charges? And Travell said, yes, it is true. Moderators, if somebody puts it up, can you just put it on the screen for us? And then Travell was sworn in. It might have happened in the opposite way than I wrote it. But Travell was then sworn in by the clerk. When she read, when she swore him in, I just thought this was interesting because he was so polite. Like if you didn't know what he was there for, you would assume it was something like this old country boy then got in trouble and, he's not a bad guy kind of thing. So when he was sworn in, he was like, yes, ma'am. And so, the other thing. So then he was asked his name, to state his name and spell. Was he asked to spell? I can't remember, but he was asked to state his name. Usually they ask them to spell it as well. And he said, now, cause y'all know I was struggling with this whole name of Travell because I swear this man calls himself Travell, not Travell. So yesterday I'm listening. I'm like, okay, he about to say his name, his own name again. He says Travell. Now I'm gonna keep calling him Travell because that's what the consensus is. Y'all's telling me that this man don't know how to pronounce his own name, and it's his St. Louis accent that's getting in the way. But the dude calls himself Travell. I literally wrote it down again. I was like, he keeps saying Travell. I need y'all to hear him say his own name because everybody's like, you pronouncing it wrong. I'm just saying what the man's saying his name is. So anyway, he was then asked his birthday. He says June 12th of 1991. June 12th of 1991 is his birthday. He was then asked by Judge Ross if he was under the influence of drugs. Travell responded, no. Keep this in mind, this part right here. This is thank you, Tiana Yvonne. One count of so this is what Travell pled guilty to. So it's 1 count of conspiracy to commit the M word and 1 count of M word for hire. Oh, in the D word. It's kind of hard to adjust my reading to that. But anyway, so yeah, that's what it was, the 2 counts. So then, so remember, now when he was asked if he was under the influence of drugs, he said no. Keep that in mind because this comes back up later on. Travell was then asked, now he was asked a bunch of stuff, and it was like kind of rapid fire. Like, again, I'm nobody's note, like I'm not a stenographer. I know when I took shorthand in high school, I cheated. So, and I shouldn't have. Now, 40 years later, I could have made use of this, or 30 years later. But anyway, so it was other things asked between. So these are just the things I caught. So Judge Ross asked Travell if he was satisfied with the service he received from his attorney. So for those of you who may not be as familiar with these proceedings and what all this really means, like why he bothered asking him and all of that, because these are all things that they want on the record that Travell can't later say, I need an appeal because I didn't have, my attorney didn't provide me with good service. I wasn't satisfied. I didn't understand what he was saying, and I didn't understand what I pled to. All of that. So they're trying to get it on the record of Travell confirming that he knows what the heck is going on, and he did receive, services to his satisfaction. So the next question Judge Ross asked Travell was, did he understand the discussions that he had with his attorney? And he stated yes. Hold on, catching up with my notes because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So then Judge Ross asked Travell a question about his understanding what he was actually pleading guilty to. He stated yes again. No, and then I wrote here, Travell, so I was getting ahead of myself. So Travell then responded correct. And I noticed I had wrote here a note saying all of Travell's answers. Now, once again, when I'm talking about how polite and well-mannered he was, like you wouldn't think this would be the kind of guy that would do these sort of things. All of his responses were either correct or yes, sir, to all of Judge Ross's questions. So he was then asked, were the facts that he pled to true and correct? So what he confessed to, the whole story he gave us that we have read in his plea agreement, the story that he told, is that true? Was that true and correct? Travell said yes. Then Judge Ross begins to read the second paragraph of page 6 of the plea agreement that Travell had signed. So he then starts to kind of go through it and break it down. So he asked specifically about Travell's arrangement with Tim that led to the M of Andre. So he's specifically walking through the timeline and saying, he's asking him, is it true that on this date Tim Norman came to, the Peabody Projects and you got in his vehicle, and at that point he discussed this or that? And then Travell is saying yes or no. So Travell at that point admitted. Now, this is another thing. I start this because it's conflicting, showing that Travell lied in his testimony and then is saying something else here and then says something else somewhere else. So Judge Ross asked Travell, did he admit to talking to Tim about taking the life of Andre? So specifically what he was talking about was when Tim came to the Peabody Projects and Travell said he got in a vehicle with Tim. Tim then told him what he needed done or wanted done. And then Travell got out of the vehicle and then went straight to purchase the weapon. And so Judge Ross then say, and isn't it true that after you got out of the vehicle, you obtained the weapon from someone in the area after talking with Tim? He said yes. So the thank you for keep that up for a second so I don't forget. But what was interesting was on yesterday, Travell was admitting that Tim did say, or that there was an understanding that Tim wanted him to take Andre out. Whereas when he testified during the trial, if y'all remember, because that's when the infamous, our little viral, I didn't do it, came up, was because Travell was saying that Tim never told him, never implied, there was never a discussion about taking Andre out. Now you're saying, oh yeah, that's what was said in the van, in the truck, which we all knew. We all knew that. So then Judge Ross asked him, he said, isn't it true that 2 days later you received the $5,000 cash for said act. When asked that, this is when I'm trying to call him the name y'all want me to call Travell. This is when Travell then disagreed. He's like, no, sir. He's like, what? No, what? Wait, what? So Travell stated, I did not know what the $5,000 was for. I'm just telling you, no, don't throw nothing at me. No tomatoes. I ain't saying this. This is what Travell is saying. This is what he said. Oh, and quick, I'm glad I looked back at the screen. So his demeanor, Travell's demeanor, was again very, I think because Travell is from the streets and, you know, obviously he just hasn't had a lot of experiences outside of that world. And so even when he came in the court, when he was escorted in before things got started, I would say he was maybe sitting there 3 to 5 minutes, if that. And so again, it's very, I keep doing this because this is my way of relaxing, but it was very like arm over over the chair. Now he was doing this, kind of sitting, and they have conference room chairs, so it can swivel and all that. He's just kind of like, "What's up, y'all? What's up?" So that was kind of his demeanor. He looked around a little bit. What I noticed, and this was, well, I'll just say he stared me down. It happened a little later when we had a break, and I'll tell y'all about that. But like I told y'all during the trial, how the jury had been let out for whatever reason, I can't remember now, but they came back in and Travell was like just staring each of them down. And I felt like he's kind of like in the street, you assess people and you like, so you can remember, oh, he had on green shoes, you know, he had on jeans, he got a black hat, like just in case you need to handle some business, you ain't forgetting nothing about nothing. Like it felt that same energy. He had that. So anyway, so we get back to this shocking news that Travell had no idea what this $5,000 was for. He just said, and so what Travell said was, I never knew what it was for. Tim just called me and said that basically, I don't even think he knew. Yeah, he did know of DJ Beast because they went on vacation together. But he just basically told him that DJ Beast was coming over to drop him off something. And that was it. So, yeah. So he then says, however, and so Judge Ross is like, what is happening here? Because this is not what you said in your plea agreement. Like, we ain't got time for the shenanigans. But he did ask him then something to the effect that made Travell say that he did know, because basically Judge Ross was like, okay, with the shenanigans about the 5,000, okay, fine, you didn't know, so you saying this, but did you know when you got in that vehicle with him, did you know what Tim wanted you to do? And Travell then says, yeah, there was an understanding that Tim wanted me to, you know, K-word Andre, but he didn't talk about me getting money for it. What he said. So then Judge Ross went into the guidelines for, you know, deciding the sentencing. I don't have all the terminology here. I was trying to write it down and I just could not keep up. That's why I'm hoping for transcripts and then we can get in depth. And then Judge Ross started to talk about all the considerations for how he comes up with how much time Travell would serve. He talked about the nature of the crime as one of the considerations, the history and characteristics of Travell, and also the pre-sentence report that is done on Hill. Now, I know a little bit about this because there's a YouTuber who I was binge watching at one point. She was in jail and she talked about the pre-sentencing report and how basically they get a therapist to interview the prisoner to get their life story. So they get them to open up and describe their life and their hardships and how they turned out to be the person that they are. And then that information is supposed to be taken into consideration for sentencing. What the way the YouTuber describes it, I'm forgetting her name and I hate I'm forgetting it. But the way she describes it She said it's not a good thing. And she said it's not good to tell them, you know, my parents weren't there for me, my mom was on drugs, my daddy was on drugs, all this stuff, because it really then makes them paint you a certain way to basically be like, give them more time. Like they're not a benefit to society kind of thing. So anyway, Travell did one of those. He did the pre-sentence interview or whatever, and they came up with a report. That report is sealed. We will not see it because I tried to. I went on the website to try to pull it up a couple days ago when it was entered, and I was like, "Ooh," and it was like, "You don't have access." Safe for you, nosy neighbor. So I couldn't see it, and we can't see it. So Travell was then asked if he saw the final pre-sentence report and if he had any objections to it. Travell said that yes, he had. He saw it, and he did not have any objections to it. Then the government was also asked if they had any objections to the final pre-sentencing report, and they said no. They like, no, we know he's a horrible person. And then he started talking about Judge Ross started talking about. See, I don't even know what I just wrote here. It was history of something, and I put a number 6. I have no idea what that means. That's why another reason I wanted to do this yesterday when stuff was fresh on my mind. But he then talked about the potential, basically based on Travell's history and how they calculated, he could end up with a life sentence. Like it equals, if he just went by the way that the guidelines, sentencing guidelines are written, Travell just off GP gets life in prison. And life in federal prison literally means life. Not like regular prison, state prison, where it's, you know, a certain amount of years, and I don't know how many years, but what else was I gonna say about? Oh, but Judge Ross was saying, although there are prison guidelines, the court has the ability to fall within those guidelines, or basically go outside of them and give more time or less time. It's basically up to the courts. Okay, and so, and this is where I add, so at around this point, I think is when, because at first I'm like, wow, this is kind of deep that Travell is getting sentenced and ain't nobody showed up for him. Because I had people asking, and I didn't see a lot of questions. Some of these questions I did not see until after we were done with our recapping of the trial itself. But I did later see that there was quite a few people asking about who showed up for Travell during his testimony. Nobody, because it's just, it wasn't important enough, I don't think, for them to show up for that. It's literally like he was on the stand for, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, if that. And so that's just, it wasn't about him. It was about Tim. So Travell had no one show up on the day of his trial. It was the same old people in the courtroom. So I'm sure that there was, and the people I saw yesterday who did actually show up for him were never in the court prior to yesterday. Any of the days I was there, and I was there every day. So, so Travell actually had 4 people show up for him. I did not ask them who they were, but I'm just going to let you know from nosy neighbor perspective who I assume that they are. So there was a lady who was very slender, and I'm assuming she was a little older, but when I say older, late 40s, I barely would get this woman 50. If she's 50, she's no more like 52 or something. But she could have been 38 because she looked like she lived a hard life. But I could tell she was the older woman. And just based on her reactions throughout while Judge Ross was talking, it made me say, okay, this lady's potentially Travell's mother, is what I'm assuming, or an aunt, whoever raised him or something. She just had like a motherly figure kind of vibe going, but you could tell that she lived a very, 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 very hard life. And then there were 2 young ladies there as well. One looked like she could throw down. She looked like I better not approach her. And then the other, she looked like, you know, somebody who has a family of people like that, but she ain't one of them. She's cut from a different cloth. And then there was a guy there who had locks, and I don't know who he was, but he was pretty vocal, like amongst themselves. They were all talking or whatever. They kind of look like the kind of people that he might have come from. I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to say what I'm saying. Y'all know what I'm saying. Yeah, that's all I had about them. So they were sitting there. Now, I'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, so at this point, so after all that was done, Judge Ross has talked to Travell about, what's happened, what he had pled to and admitted to. I noticed the motherly figure who I was just describing. She was kind of like shaking her head and almost like she was disagreeing with the things that Judge Ross was saying that Travell admitted to, as if Judge Ross had the story wrong. And at one point, she was so potentially disruptive that I just almost in my head, I was like, I feel like she's gonna get kicked out in a minute. But she wasn't. It was just like she was doing too much, just doing too much, too reactive. Yeah. So I was kind of like, this might get good. This might get good for my notes. But it didn't. It was uneventful. She kept it self-contained within their area. And yeah, they just let her be. Okay, so at that point, Judge Ross explains that there's a procedure that happens next. And again, stuff was just happening too quick, too much talking, too fast. And so hopefully we get the transcripts and then I can re-describe this and break it down for y'all. But he was basically saying that the next portion of that was for specifically Travell and counsel, and it was to be done without being in the view of the public. So we had to all be excused. So literally the entire courtroom, including the Griggs, there was nothing left in there but the attorneys and Travell. And Judge Ross told us, I'll have you all come back in, but for this portion, it's closed. And so we left out. We all just basically went in the lobby and stood around conversing in our circles. And the Griggs were escorted into the conference room that is directly outside of the court. They were just one of the marshals unlocked the door, let them in there, and then they locked the door. So it's kind of like keeping them protected. So nobody could just walk in on them or anything like that. They were in there, and I will say that we were, thank you for loving me. I love you too. Love you for loving me. But we were out there all of, it wasn't even 10 minutes. It wasn't even 10 minutes. So we then were allowed to come back in. First, how we found out that like we can come back in is one of the marshals that was inside of the court opened the door to tell the other marshals who were guarding the door on our side, basically, that we could start coming back in. They first then went to the Griggs conference room and unlocked that door and then called them out. So then the Griggs all filed back in. Then the rest of us filed in. Then when we returned, so now I get back to my notes. Let's see what happened. Now this when it starts to get a little heavy, y'all. Well, this whole thing is heavy. Y'all know what I'm saying. I have to do this in a way that, keeps us all from going into a deep depression. So, but this part, brace yourselves. So, this, when we come back in, hold on. Let me give y'all a quick commercial break because my throat is hurting a little bit and we're about to get into some stuff that might get a little verklempt. Hold on, I'm gonna give you a little commercial break and I will be back. Hello out there. We're back. Okay, so let's get into it. So thank you for the super chat. So we're back in the courtroom. Judge Ross then addresses the government, and he says, is it true that the family has statements, victim impact statements that they want to state? It said it's true. He said, okay, pretty much go ahead. The government, it was, oh, and I meant to put this up a little earlier to say who was there, because now I have pictures of them. Well, at least these. So this is pictures of, to your left in the black is attorney Angie Danis, and then to the one in the gray is Gwendolyn Carroll. So the one in the black was the lead attorney. She handled, well, they worked equally, but she was the lead attorney, Angie Danis. And then Gwendolyn is the one who did the closing arguments. She was the one who read Tim his rights. I loved it. Oh, I can't wait for the transcripts for that. Oh, I can't wait. Because I just need to tell it to y'all verbatim and in the way that she did it. The other thing about that, I was going to wait till the end because I don't even think I put it in my notes anyway. But update on the transcripts. There's a very good chance. Well, they've been ordered. I'll put them this way. So part of the process was we had to wait for the attorneys to order it. And then that gets the ball rolling for the court stenographer to go ahead and finish them and get them ready for us. That ball has started to roll. She has 90 days from the point that they've been ordered to then complete them. So that puts us in December sometime that they should be ready. If not before, but December sometime. So it might be an early Christmas present for us, for me to then go live. And that it's going to take about a week to get through them. And then we'll just I just said I'm going to commit to doing a live, every day, and we'll do a section. And I may just do it in the same exact order that the trial went in. We might do it that way. I'll figure that part out. But yeah, so we're getting a little closer to that. And then also Tim's sentencing date, again, I was going to do this at the end, has been moved from December 15th to March 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. I'll find out in the end before we close this live out, because I got to dig through my calendar to make sure that's the right date. So just so you know, Tim is now being sentenced in March, not December. Things keep changing around here. Y'all know how it goes. So anyway, we're back in the court. Back to the notes. We're back in the court. Victim impact statements. The government then says, so Angie, and that's the reason I brought it up. So brought them up rather. Angie Danis, the one in the black, the attorney Angie Danis, is the one who said, yes, the family does want to speak. She just wasn't clear what order they wanted to speak in. And so they just start to get up on their own. And so Darren Griggs, who is, I'll pull him up here, is Andre's brother. So he's the only male in the picture in the yellow shirt. That's Andre's older brother. He gets up. The judge instructs them to come to the podium. He instructs them to speak into the mic at the podium, but also they were reading their statements. He asked them that they read slow, talk slower than normal, because he says sometimes, people when they're talking, they talk real fast, and the court stenographer is taking notes. So hopefully, again, she took these notes, so hopefully we get the transcripts. And he asked them to only address him. Don't be turning around saying, you, Travell, this and that. None of that. Only address him. And so Darren comes up. Darren Griggs is very, we'll find out, as I go through what he said, you'll kind of realize why he carries himself a certain way, very professional, very professional. I was going to say stoic, but it is kind of very militant in a way, and we'll find out why. So Darren began. Now I got confused because he was the uncle of Dre, and I was like, I thought you was his brother. What you talking about? You his uncle? So I got confused and I started writing, he's the uncle. And I'm like, I got to tell them he's not the brother. But what I realized is, again, trying to take notes too quick and all of that. He was reading first the statement from the uncle. So it was hard for me to catch everything, but in summary, the uncle had written a letter to the court stating how Andre's future was cut short, how great of a young man that Andre was, and how much potential he had, and how they didn't get to see him, go through stages of life because he was trying to figure himself out, and his life just got cut short, and they are suffering, all of those sort of things. So then Darren, I put a star here. So while Darren was reading, I noticed that Travell's people, and they happen to be sitting, I didn't say this before, they were sitting like one row ahead of me. So I had a clear view of them. I noticed that they were talking while Darren was reading his impact statement. And for me, it was too much. It didn't go on the entire time, but it wasn't respectful at all. Like, I felt like whatever y'all talking about ain't important enough. And it was the mom. It was the mom chattering to the people they were with. And I just felt like in that moment, shut the fuck up. Like, don't say a goddamn word. And yeah, she said all of 4 sentences or something, like 4 little short remarks that she was making, whatever they were chattering about. But it was 4 times too much to me. Just be quiet during that. Be respectful. It's enough that, your loved one has taken someone else out. Be quiet. But again, it wasn't disruptive to the rest of the court. I was sitting right behind them, so I could just clearly see the chattering. And it wasn't like she was chattering even about what was being said. I could tell that it wasn't about that. It was just whatever she thought was important enough. She couldn't wait. Okay, so then Darren starts to read his own statement. So Darren then talks about how he spent 20 years in the military and he regrets not being there for Dre. He says that the fact that he couldn't protect Dre haunts him to this very day. He talked about how he fed and changed Dre's diapers with him being the older brother. He said that Dre, and again, I didn't catch every single thing. I'm just writing like the highlights of what I was able to catch. He's talked about how Dre's passing was cut off the bloodline to the Montgomery's bloodline. He mentioned how he felt like he regrets it because he thought he had more time for Dre. He felt like he got so wrapped up in his world, being in the military, being a career military person, and having his own family and all of that, where he thought he had time to allow Andre to find himself, and he thought that he would have time for Andre to become a man, so that they could then relate on a man-to-man level. And he said that he was waiting to have that grown man conversation with Dre, thinking he had time to be able to do that. He then goes into saying that the family is no longer whole. Now this is the part that started to get me, where it all got me, but y'all know what I'm saying. These things just kind of burned in my brain, was where he said that Dre was buried the day before his birthday. So the day before Darren's birthday, Dre was buried. So he says, my birthdays aren't the same anymore, because every time my birthday comes up, I'm thinking about when we buried my brother. He says that Travell's birthday is the same day as Dre's sister's birthday. And I didn't catch which sister. But so that means every time his sister has a birthday, they're thinking about Travell, the guy who took their Andre's life. And then he started to talk to Travell. Well, he was talking to the judge, but letting Travell have it. And so he says, not only does he not have respect for Travell for taking the life of his brother, but he said Travell basically had an opportunity to man up and just backtracked his story of how of what happened. So this is him now referring to Travell trying to act like he didn't know why he got the 5,000. The stuff he just talked about, like, moments ago, what we were just talking about, how Travell is backtracking his story. So he started to refer to that. And he says, and then now you're saying you didn't do it for the money. So what are you saying? You took Dre for whatever. So then he says, well, Judge, I don't want you to give Travell whatever. He said, I want you to give him life. And the way he said it, oh yeah, I want the transcript so I can read y'all verbatim. The way he said it. So that was pretty much the Darren's impact statement. And so then he sits down, and then Kayla, is it Kayla or Kaylin? Kayla gets up. His sister, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm messing up names. I hate messing up names for stuff like this. But the one standing to your far right in the yellow shirt, right off next to the auntie in the blue, she then gets up. That's Andre's sister. She goes to the podium and she says, now she said a lot. She said a lot, and hers was definitely, she speaks with passion. And so you saw that in the press conference. For those of you who saw the press conference, you saw her. She was the one who was the voice for the family. She spoke with that same energy when she was up at the podium. She directed all her stuff to Travell. She says, your mentor got you in prison. She said, you ruined 2 lives, yours and my brother's. She says, you took my protector. And again, she was saying so much more. This is what I was able to catch because it was going fast. She says, and the $5,000, was it $1,000 per bullet? She's called him she said, you're a coward. You're weak. You're a fairy. and so when she said that part, Travell was like, where the hell you get that from? And then I was like, what you been hearing? She didn't elaborate. Email me or text you. We have each other's number. Text me and let me know. We need to talk. Let me know what you know. But anyway, so she then goes on to say, so this is the thing that came out of this, where you start to realize how this situation haunts this family and will forever, because the milestone moments in their lives are associated with this tragedy. So she got to talking about how October 14th is her mom's birthday. And for those of you who don't know, it's also Andre's birthday. So Michelle Griggs has the same birthday as her son, Andre. And so it's kind of hard to celebrate your birthday knowing that your child is no longer here and was taken so tragically. And then also he was taken on March 14th. So the 14th, the date of the 14th haunts them. Crazy. Then his sister, I think this is his younger sister. She in the green, so to your far left in the green next to Kaylin, she then speaks. And I think her name is Asia. I'm not 100% sure, y'all. I forgot to write it down, and I'm trying to go off my memory, and it ain't good. But she got up and she says, you K'd my twin. You K'd my brother, and my mom is not the same. She says, her cry isn't even the same. She said, my family ain't the same. And so this is all I wrote. What I captured from what she was saying is that her family has been broken from this. Like, her mom isn't as connected, and that it's the energy's different. The energy's different, and it's kind of like a little turmoil with it, because mom ain't mom no more, like in the same way that she was. Like, mom is so broken that mom ain't mom. Yeah. And so she was kind of alluding to the family just not being what it used to be. So then Michelle Griggs goes up, and she paused a little bit. She was pretty much crying immediately, and she was pausing before she really got started. And then she stated, I think the first thing she might have said is 7 years since Dre's passing. She used another word, the D word. She said, I lost my child to greed. He didn't have a chance to grow up, get married, have kids, and make me a grandmother. She says, you K'd the Montgomery legacy. She says, the call I received on March 14th of 2016 is a call that no parent should ever have to receive. She said she talked about how they shared the same birthday, and that makes each year hard. She says that she knows. Now, she said some other stuff too, but again, y'all, this one was, I was literally trying to fight back tears, trying to stay engaged mentally to catch the notes, but like disconnecting enough so I didn't just break down, with them. So this is all I caught. But she says, I know we're supposed to forgive, but today ain't the day. So she then went back to her seat. That's how she ended it. And then Judge Ross asked Michael Cohen, not Michael Cohen. Well, I always want to say everybody Michael Cohen. What's anyway, Attorney Cohen, which is Travell's attorney, Peter Cohen. Peter. So Judge Ross then asked Peter Cohen if he had any statements. So basically, the family has given their impact statements. Do you have any statements that you want to add? He said, is it also true that you have no evidence that you wanted to present? Peter Cohen, Travell's attorney, said, no, that's correct. I have no evidence. No point in, we already know what happened. So then Judge Ross confirmed that the government was requesting that Travell be given 30 years on both counts to run concurrently, to which we're not talking about Michael Leonard, though. That's Tim's attorney. He was not there today. Tim wasn't there, and Tim's attorney wasn't there. So Judge Ross was asking them, is that correct that they are asking for Travell to get 30 years to run concurrently, which means at the same time. So 30 years on each count, 30 years for count one, 30 years for count two, but they run concurrently. So he served 30 years, he out. So then Michael Cohen then makes his statement. He says that that the family made very heart-wrenching, impactful statements that did he say that I think he said that he hopes Travell has let soak in, the words from the family soak in. He then goes on to say that Travell has, so it's kind of like he's pleading the case for why Travell should not, end up buried for the rest of his life. And so he says that Travell has kids. He says he has no former violent offenses. So they're saying now, to their knowledge, Travell hasn't done anything of this nature before. That Travell has okay, I was like, did I forget this, because it's a major part that's coming up. Like, we ain't done, y'all. Because I'm like, I ain't say that now, but it's coming up. It's coming up. Okay, so he then goes on to say that he had no violent offenses on record. So basically all of Travell's stuff is like drug related and like traffic, tickets and stuff like that, being pulled over, I guess, for no license and all the other foolishness. And then he says that Travell actually lost two of his brothers prior to Dre's taking, like within months. And he says, so then and he probably said some other stuff, but this is all I caught, y'all. And then Travell's attorney asked that Travell because of all this, please take all this into consideration. The fact that he did work with the government and his involvement was key to getting this conviction for James Timothy Norman. And so taking all that into consideration, he was asking that Judge Ross give Travell 20 years concurrently. So basically, he served 20 years and he gone. He out. So now Travell gets to speak. So Judge Ross asked Travell if he had any words for the court, anything he wanted him to consider or whatever. And Travell get to talking. Okay, so then Travell starts to talk about how he lost his two brothers right before Dre was taken. He didn't go in depth. He didn't describe what and how and all that, because I know y'all gonna be saying, what did he say about them? He didn't say nothing. He just stated that fact, that he did lose his two brothers literally months before Dre was taken, or he took Dre out. And he was saying that so because of that, he really can feel what the family feels, like he's been through it. He then says, and when it comes to, let me see, do I hold this part? Let me hold that part. So then he talks about him pleading guilty and assisting in the way that he did is because he does regret what he did. He says, because of this, when he feels he doesn't feel whole anymore. And he says, so when his family cries, he cries. He says, I don't understand this, but he said, when my family cries, I cry. When my family smiles, I smile. I'm like, what? You don't really want to talk about smiling, because nobody's smiling up in here. Nobody's smiling because of this situation. So the fact that you can smile is a good goddamn thing. You should be happy. And then he says, I was mad at myself for being around those people. So basically, Tim and I meant to pull up White Boy Chris's picture, because some of y'all ain't seen it, and I don't have it handy. Sorry, y'all. God dog it. I knew I was forgetting something. But I wanted to pull up White Boy Chris picture, because he came up in this. But he's talking about being around White Boy Chris and Tim and all of that. He says he regrets being around them. He says, okay, I'm gonna say that for okay. He then mentioned that because now he's giving his version, like, feel sorry for me, y'all. I'm going through too. So he says, I have a 1-year-old that I never seen in person, only on video. Now, this wasn't making, I wrote down what he said, and I was like, how you got a 1-year-old and you've been in prison for like over a year? Like, help me out. So I think, or has he been in prison over a year? What, he went in November of 2021? I don't know, y'all. Do the math in the chat. Let me know. Does that make sense? Would he have a 1-year-old that he hasn't seen if he got arrested in November of... I thought he got arrested in November of 2020. And only because I'm multitasking, my brain is in show mode, so I can't think clearly. Let me know if that makes sense. If not, he got a baby that he ain't seen. I don't know if the baby was... Yeah, I don't know. But he said he got a 1-year-old that he has not ever seen in person. Then he says, I've been dead inside since the moment that I took Dre's life. And then this was funny because Travell was going. He was just going. He was just getting it. He had to get it out. He could finally talk and like talk freely. And so Judge Ross was trying to interrupt him like a couple times, And so I have here that Judge Ross attempts to interrupt again, but he let him finally get out. But going a little higher up in this situation, because this is interesting. Now, this is the plot twist that I told the VIPs about, and I ain't say it in public, but I told y'all about it in the text community yesterday. Remember, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you want to join for those sort of exclusives. So the plot twist is Travell says that he did not take Dre for that $5,000. That meant nothing to him. He didn't even know he was going to get the $5,000. He said that he took Dre's life to save his own life. He said that he took Dre's life because it was based on who asked him. He knew that it was either I do that or they do me. And what he was talking about, if y'all remember, those of y'all who've been here since the beginning, you know that the person who he says initially told him was White Boy Chris. So he's saying, and he said in court, if y'all remember, I told y'all that there was a question asked about when white boy Chris came up to him and said, Tim says you asking for too much money to M. Andre. Travell says his response was, I ain't never talked to Tim about doing nothing to nobody. And he then says, so they said, well, what did you do next? And he said, I walked away. And they said, I think it was Angie Danis who was questioning him, if I'm not mistaken, attorney Angie Danis. And so she said, well, why did you just walk away? And Travell said, I walked away because I knew it was a situation of either basically I pow him or he pow me. So he knew that Chris didn't give a F, and because they didn't get along like that, he would possibly just even take him out in that moment. So he's saying that he felt like he had to do it in order for his life to be spared. He says in hindsight, he regrets it and wishes that he had done something else, like, disappeared or something like that. So I'm just telling y'all, I see what y'all saying. And we'll talk about it a little later when I get to y'all comments. I'm just giving y'all, just don't throw no tomatoes at me. I'm just telling y'all what was said. Okay, so again, so Judge Ross is kind of like the shenanigans of it all. He ain't feeling it. And so, and so Judge Ross then finally, he does his, okay, all right, we're done. Like he basically interrupted Travell. And he's like, okay, Mr. Hill. So Judge Ross then begins to roll out his situation. Oh, okay. Today Celebrity News did put out her video. Okay. And so Travell, okay. So Judge Ross then gives his final remarks and he says, it's troubling that you Cade Andre months after losing your brothers. He said, the fact that you would cause another family to feel that pain after you've just been through that. And he says, based on reports, it's obvious that you're a follower. So he's saying based on that pre-sentencing report where they, basically did the psychological test and conversation with Travell, he's like, it's clear that you're a follower. Like you ain't got no brain of your own. He says, and the way that you hid between the two houses waiting for Dre while Terica lured him out was troubling, cold, and callous. He wasn't holding no words. I love Judge Ross. I know somebody was saying he got some issues or some bad history, but he did his damn job this time. I'll tell you that much. He says, you're only getting the benefit, basically a benefit because of your cooperation. Yeah, and then I was about to write something, and it's missing. So he then goes on to say, Judge Ross then goes on to say, basically, you're getting 32 years, 384 months, and he says, Travell has a major drug problem. Now, what I found interesting was that, remember, I told y'all in the beginning, hold on to the fact that he asked Travell, was he on drugs? Basically, are you high right now? And Travell was like, no. Well, we fast forward to the end, the last couple minutes of us about to, we about to get out of there. And he basically lets Travell know, you got a major drug problem. Not past tense, but current tense. Like, Ninja, you getting high in jail. And we know it. Like, ain't no hiding that. We know. So he then talks about, he mentioned the 32 years. He just kind of talked through it. Like, you're getting 32 years. It wasn't no whole drawn out thing, wasn't no drum roll. It was just like, you're getting 32 years, 384 months. He says, you have a major drug problem. He talked about that after the 32 years are served, that Travell would then have 5 years of probation after release. He then he said that I'm going to recommend to the prison that you be put in substance abuse counseling. He mentioned some other stuff I didn't catch, but then he also talked about Travell having the opportunity for like educational programs, like he's going to recommend, and he's like, it's up to the prison, of course, but he's going to recommend you know, that he get those sort of services as well, like that he does some shit. I'm sorry, ish. Can't show y'all that side of me. That he does some ish while he's in there too. So 32 years, 32 years for each count. Count one, count two. Not 64 years, but he's doing them concurrently at the same time. So that means he'll be in prison for 32 years and then 5 years of probation after that. He then, that was it. It was, he pretty much gave it and that was it. It wasn't no drawn out dramatic situation. He's like, I heard you. There's some goddamn shenanigans. And remember, he did address, again, I wish I had transcripts because there was a couple other words he said that I didn't catch. But he did say Judge Ross said to the prosecution, the government, he said, I know you guys only asked for 30 years. He says, however, considering the circumstances, I feel that at least 32 years. And so that's how it went from the 30 years that the government was asking for. He added an additional 2 years to that. So Judge Ross was like, I'm adding a little bit for me. So then, you know, that was it. He was like, you're being, I don't know if he said relinquished to the custody of the marshals or something, but he said basically he's being, you know, released to the custody of them. Basically, we're done. Get out of here. Hate you. And so Travell starts to walk out. Travell was shackled at his feet, but he was not handcuffed. And so he starts to walk out. The guy who was in front of me, who was a part of Travell's camp, the 4 people, he yells out, "We love you. We love you." And then Travell does a stay up and then walked out. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. All right. All right. Good night. No. All right. So let's get into the comments. Oh, we got 616. And of course, we're not reading all of those. Let's get to, so I'm just work my way through the start comments. If you have any questions, what time, how long have we been on here? Okay, well, we did pretty good. That was an hour, 26 minutes. You know what I need real quick though, y'all? I need a very quick commercial break for nature. Nature is calling me. And I don't want to feel like I'm rushing y'all because nature is calling me. So what I'm gonna do, I hope it's gonna replay. I hope it replays. If it don't, y'all bear with the quietness for a minute. But I'm about to play y'all. Yeah, I only uploaded one. I wish I had uploaded more now. Let me see. No, let me give y'all that. Hold on. Give me a minute. Bear with me. Amateur at work. I'm only one man. Nope. Let me just play this. The other one's acting up. Oh, hell. They all freezing. What the hell? All right, I'm back. I have no idea what's happening with the internet. You know, it is what it is, you know. Okay, so let's start getting through some of these comments. And thank you all for hanging out with me this Friday night. I think this was it's probably a lot happening on YouTube this Friday night. I'm probably not gonna do more Friday night lives. I got stuff going off on the phone. But anyway, so first comment is that deal should have been vacated after he perjured himself on the stand about meeting Tim and hearing about the request from someone else. Yeah, I guess in a way they kind of like, let's just get this over with. Like it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. But yeah, I thought that might be a possibility as well, but it wasn't. Well, I'm not gonna say it's not a possibility, but they didn't do it. So nobody from the Montgomery family? No, there was no one from the Montgomery family. I was gonna say that but I don't even think it was any people we didn't know. Yeah, it wasn't. Again, it was like all of maybe 6 people from the public, less than 10 of us for sure. It's probably the same jumpsuit, and that's why it's faded now. It's only been a couple of weeks. I don't think it faded that much. It might be his second one. Maybe he wore his good one for the first for the trial. Maybe he didn't expect nobody to really be there for this. Let's see. I bet Tarek gets 20 like her plea deal stipulates. Hers needs to be thrown out also for perjuring herself. Tim is getting life. What did she perjure herself during the testimony? Like I don't recall mentioning her perjuring herself. I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting, but I don't recall her perjuring herself. She seemed like the only one who wasn't from my memory. I was one of the jurors for Tim's court. Oh, we need to talk. I want to know what happened behind the scenes. How y'all? I mean, y'all did the right thing, but I want to know what happened behind the scenes. We need to talk, Michael. Let's see. Love the shirt color on you tonight, Vel. Oh, thank you so much. This was a last minute change too, because I was gonna wear something else. But thank you so much. He lied in Tim's trial. He should have lost the plea deal. Yeah, we agree. Thank you so much for the super chat. Letitia, I'm so bad with names. Miss Smith, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Miss Vicky, Vel, you really painted a great picture. Awesome storyteller. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Miss Vicky. Thank you so much, Keisha, for the $10 super chat. I really, really, really appreciate you for that. Every little bit helps, because I ended up. Oh, it was some drama with the. I can't wait for Patreon because I can tell y'all all the behind the scenes. I ain't gonna waste the time here. People don't like that. The strangers, the people who just kind of come by here, they don't like when I get into all that stuff. Latrace, Vel, you are amazing. Thank you for your commentary. Thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate it. Oleo J, wasn't Terica originally supposed to be sentenced this year too, and then they moved her to next year? Yes, Terica's date was like October 26th or something. It was this month. It was supposed to be this month. Somebody just sent me a picture of Chris Carroll. Let me see if I can pull it up for y'all real quick. Hold on. Am I on Wi-Fi? Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi. Give me a second, y'all. Bear with me. Amateur work. Oh, Alice, blessed child of God. Thank you so much. That's our backstage moderator. She is on the scene. And I'm only doing this because some people really want to see this and haven't. So I usually don't like doing show prep during the live, but amateur work. Here we go. Almost there, y'all. Almost there. Why my computer ain't showing up? Oh, you know what? I'm not on Wi-Fi, and I can't jump off Wi-Fi. I mean, I can't jump off my Ethernet because it might mess us up even more. I'll put it. You know what? I'll put the picture of Chris Carroll in our YouTube community, and I'm gonna also put it in our new Facebook group, the Vel's Important People Community. That long ass name. I'm gonna put the picture of Chris Carroll in those two places. I'll put it on all my social medias too. So go there and you'll see his picture, because I don't want to take a chance of jacking us up with the internet. Thank you so much for the super chat, Luberta, I think. I really appreciate you so much for that. Thank you so much, Miss Anderson, for the super chat. This is to start your security details since Travell was mean mugging you. VIPs, let's contribute to Travell security and IT computer core funds, y'all. Yes, and the fact that if I'm going to be covering even more of these sort of cases, a brother do need to make sure I'm covered. So I really appreciate you for that. Tutu, thank you so much for the super chat. This is so sad. Thank you for covering and updating. Thank you so much for supporting. I appreciate it. Miss Anderson again. So, is it possible for him to parole out on good behavior or anything? I pray not. I don't know how this sentencing things work. From what I was told yesterday, the feds don't play that. So you serving your time. So that's what I was told. Now, one of y'all might know something different, but that's what we were told yesterday. Next. Oh, that didn't come up. Keep the Griggs families in your prayer. Tiana, Yvonne, keep the Griggs family in your prayers. They have to go through this 3 more times. They have to do this at YL's, Terica, and Tim's sentencing too. Very true. Very true. And YL's is next. His is on November 1st. If nothing changes, his got pushed back too because it was supposed to be the same day. Actually, him and Terica were originally on the same day. So they keep changing these dates. So hopefully, they can go ahead and just get this over with. Because again, it was all supposed to be over with this year with the sentencing, and now it's being drug out all the way to March of next year. So again, yeah, keep the Griggs family in your prayers because this, it's still a layer of it not being, having complete closure. And even after that, with what they described of these dates that align with all these family, birthdays and all of these things that just will always make this be, a constant reminder. Was his demeanor remorseful? So with Travell, I will say during the time that he was able to make his own statement, and he did ask the judge, he was like, Judge, I just asked that you, give me what you think is fair, kind of thing. I will say he did address the family. Again, I wish I had the transcripts because he said quite a bit more than what I actually had here for y'all. But he did tell them he knows that, they will likely never forgive him. He understands that. He's sorry. He truly is sorry. I will say, yes, the demeanor, the words were remorseful, but I also think they were remorseful because he's trying to get some of his life back, like try to save as much of his life on the tail end as he can. So I kind of got that is because he needed something. But he did definitely sound, it wasn't enough. He wasn't crying or nothing though. They were just words. But yeah, moderators, you can add some other comments if there are any, or we got a little more time. I'm gonna try to take this to the 2-hour mark for those who are interested in hanging out this evening. Bonita, was he scared of Tim and Chris? So basically, yes, he's saying more so Chris was what I was getting. But yes, he was definitely, Travell was saying that he did this because he feared for his life. He felt like they chose him. He was the chosen one. And he didn't have an option not to do it. The only option was to do it or to have it done to him. And so that's why he did it. And in his mind, again, he says in hindsight, he wished he had thought of the other option, which would have been to like disappear or something. Yeah. Gorgeous Frazier, listen, if I'm gonna be a snitch, I'm telling everything. I want a new identity and wouldn't be in jail. Oh, I'm glad you even said that because you just made another thing pop up. His attorney even admitted, and it made sense. So his attorney admitted, Travell's attorney admitted that basically this situation has Travell in a very precarious situation, meaning he will forever be fearing for his life. These next 32 years will not be easy if he even makes it, if you know what I'm saying. And he made that clear. It also makes sense why Travell lied under oath and perjured himself, because when he was asked specific questions about white boy Chris and is he a drug dealer and all of those other things, and he was like, do I have to answer that? Because he's thinking about, when I leave here, I got to try to survive in these close quarters, and these people know people, and snitches get stitches and sometimes graves. And so it made sense then why he's like, I'm trying to help because I do regret, but I gotta still look out for, like, because I can end up gone anyway, depending on what I say. And the fact of what I've said so far is already enough. So yeah. Right. So I just explained this, Switch B. I literally just explained that, what was occurring there. So I don't think he was perjuring himself just for the sake of it. It's kind of like it's a precarious situation him being in, because he is in prison and he's not protected. And ain't nobody trying to protect him. Yeah, we answered. I thought I took that off. Okay, thank you so much, Trakisha, for the super chat. I'm happy that I stumbled upon your channel. So entertaining. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you stumbled upon my channel, and hopefully you stay. We got plenty more coming. We got so much more coming. I can't wait till some of this other stuff I've been delaying getting out to y'all. What's love got to do with it? Oh, I love that. And you got Tina Turner as your avatar. Good work, Vel. Much love. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you. What's love got to do with it? Oh, and again, thank you again. What's love got to do? Simply read, if he would have gotten 32 years and 10 minutes, he will do 32 years and 10 minutes. The feds ain't giving up nothing. I like that. Thank you, Simply Red, for breaking that down to the simplest terms for us. Really appreciate that. Beverly Foster, I know this is about Travell, but I wonder what Tim did with the stuff he stole from Miss Robbie. Tim was broke, so how else could he afford to pay his accomplices? I've seen some comments about this, and I'm like, partially it's because everyone's wasn't in the trial and privy to like the play-by-play. Tim was in financial trouble, but Tim wasn't broke. I mean, he had debts, and he had debts that were overwhelming. But Tim had a cash flow. You got to keep in mind that in 2016, when this occurred, the restaurants were still open. Everything was still popping. They were still on TV. He had, we know the lines were around the corner and all of that. Tim did the safe drops. Tim went to the restaurants on Mondays and Sundays. Monday, I think he always did on Mondays, and took the money out of the safes and admitted in court under oath that when he would go to the restaurant, he would take from each restaurant cash. So he pulling out, let's say $60,000 from the earnings of the restaurant. He take like 10 to 20. He said $10 to $20,000 from each restaurant on a weekly basis. So Tim wasn't broke. Like I keep hearing people saying, like, again, much debt, overwhelming debt, all of that stuff. Yes, because he was horrible with money, although he claimed he wasn't. Yes, all of that, but he had a cash flow. And that's how he was able to keep up an act from those who didn't know that he owed American Express $200 and some thousand. Yeah, so it wasn't no problem for him to come up with $5,000 and $10,000 for Terica, because he literally, actually, the money he did give Terica, he got from the pulling the money out of the safe that weekend he was there. So yeah. That day, actually, they talked about it earlier. They talked about his routing and how he ended up going to eat all of the restaurants that day to pull money out of the safes. He didn't go from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. He would go to one restaurant, then double back, go meet with DJ Beads, or go hang out, or go meet with Terica, then go do another, restaurant, get some money, and then go do something else. So yeah, he had money. That wasn't cash flow. He had that. He was not Broke as y'all think he was. I don't know. Again, he had cash flow. That's the best way I can describe him. He had access to cash. That's the best way I can describe it. Deborah, thank you so much for the super chat. Was this considered a life sentence? 30 years, certainly not enough. No, I don't think the feds don't work that. From what was explained yesterday, and I'm totally a novice, nosy neighbor, so I don't know that much more than none of y'all, besides the details of what I hear in this court. But what was said on yesterday from officials in the court building, is that the feds operate in actual numbers. So unlike, I guess, the states that 30 years equal life or whatever it is, that's not how the feds operate. When they say life, that means your life. Like when you die, it's over. Not, oh, if you last 50 years, anything over that you can have back. No, it's if we tell you life is your life, not a number, whatever that is. Next, Carmen 52. Those trial continuations and delays have an exhausting effect on the family. Absolutely. Yes. I can't even imagine what that looks like. And then keep in mind, they don't live in Missouri. So this is traveling. This is all of that. And I don't know how these expenses and all of that are taken care of. They are not taking donations or anything like that. So, you know, I don't know how all of that's being funded. Why wasn't White Boy Chris charged with anything connected to Andre's death? I have zero idea. I'm still questioning that myself. It's not 100% making total sense to me either. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Rappy 81. This was my first time catching your live. Great work. Thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping in for the live. I really appreciate it. And welcome. Janetta Boyd, I hope Tim gets life. I hope so too. I would assume he's going to get the most out of all of them because he was the mastermind, for lack of a better word. I can tell my internet is acting up. This is crazy. I'm on the Ethernet. I don't know what's happening, y'all. Oh, it sucks. Simply Red, he was robbing his mother like a burglar. Yeah. He and Miss Robbie was there in court when he testified. Remember, he decided to testify because he didn't have to, and normally a wise person wouldn't if they were in his situation. But he got up there and testified, and then got, asked those questions that had him admitting that he was taking extra money from his mom, from the restaurants. Because I'm like, did she know that you was? I'm sure she didn't. That you was taking $10,000-$20,000 per restaurant per week for your pockets. What? And somebody mentioned, I forgot what I was watching or whatever, or reading. Maybe somebody commented to me. The fact that he was doing that in part is probably how they got in trouble in the IRS trouble. So yeah, it's crazy. Okay, well, that looks okay. Here's another starred comment. I have Roberta Fletcher. Which prison is he going to? I have no idea. I don't know. And I don't know if that gets it. I don't know. Some of y'all are more well versed in these sort of subjects. I don't know if that is already determined or not. I think they figured that out after this point, but I don't know for sure. So that wasn't discussed. That wasn't mentioned at all. Okay. Okay, so that's all the comments that I have starred. And I will say, so I guess I'll get into my little story time. So yeah, here we go. Perfect timing. love that. Roberta Fletcher, tell us about the Chinese food. So was that yesterday, y'all? VIP community on yesterday, I think that was, I text y'all asking, because people had been telling me, even my first time there, like during that week, it was just so much happening. I really, honestly, I didn't even eat out a lot when I was there. I was like eating like turkey sandwiches in the house, in the Airbnb. Like I went grocery shopping when I first arrived in St. Louis. So many of those nights I kind of made my own, like made sandwiches or ate cereal or something. So I didn't eat out a ton when I was there. But I had people suggesting, like, you got to try the Chinese food. And someone suggested Like you got to try IMO pizza, which I still didn't get a chance to try when I was there that first time during the trial. So this time when I was going back, because someone who I know here in Chicago, I had talked to the day before I left, and they were like, no, the last week I talked to them, and they were like, oh, when you're there, you gotta have the Chinese food. They was like, they was like, I don't even like fried rice, and she said, I love their Chinese food. So that made it stick. And so I asked the VIP community, those who are in Missouri, to recommend where I should go. There was a couple of them. The only one that stuck out, the one who somebody's saying IMO is here we go. IMO piece is the best. But the one that people kept mentioning, like it was some person that gave me 3 recommendations, and Lefty's was first, and there was other people who was just saying Lefty by itself. So I ended up going to Lefty's Chinese, whatever it's called, Lefty's Chinese food. Lefty's is owned by Black people. So I was like, that's interesting. Only in St. Louis. And so I ended up going there. The only thing I noticed about St. Louis is like, is everywhere like in the hood or through the hood? Like, do y'all have areas that are like totally separate? Like, because it feels like everywhere I go, I either got to get on the expressway to go, or I gotta go through the hood, and then it's like right here, or it's already in the hood. I'm like, I'm lost. I feel like everything is part of the hood around there. I don't know. Could just be an out of town mountain. Like, I don't know what I was doing. But anyway, so I went to Lefty's right before Travell's hearing. I was like, I got some time. Let me run up in there. They were very nice. There was a guy behind the counter. He was talking to a friend and about somebody getting shot and robbed at the front of their house. But I was like, ugh. But anyway, he was very nice. And it felt like a soul food kind of restaurant. It had like a bar or whatever. That's what we ordered at, like at a bar. I ended up ordering the seafood fried rice because I was just doing a taste test. And I did record it because somebody sent me a VIP message saying, please record it, like do a reaction. So I did do that, and I will edit it and post it. It ain't going on YouTube. It'll go somewhere. Probably in our private YouTube channel that only y'all get to see on VIPs. I'll put it there. So anyway, I did do a taste test and all that, so y'all get to see me eat it, try it. But what was I gonna say? Oh, so I ordered the seafood fried rice, and I love like shrimp fried rice is usually what I get here in Chicago. So the seafood fried rice has shrimp, crab meat, and lobster. And so I got that. I was asking for a chicken egg roll, and the guy suggested a Southwest egg roll, which will have the beans, the cheese, and chicken. So I went with that. And then I saw like a little display advertising, like, you got to try our lobster ragoon, because, you know, most of us know maybe crab ragoon. That's what we got here in Chicago. So I got the lobster ragoon. And honestly, the price wasn't too bad. I think I was still under $20 because I gave him a $20 bill. So that was really good for that. And I got a half thing of the seafood fried rice. So got in the car, turned on the camera for y'all, and did a taste test. And I will say that y'all didn't lie. I was like, what the? Y'all did that. Y'all did that in Missouri. I'm gonna have to agree. And I love some Chinese. Actually, I got Chinese food waiting on me right now. Because it made me want more, and I'm sure I'm gonna be disappointed. Because I'm sure I'm gonna be disappointed. And I'm trying a new place here in my new environment, new neighborhoods. But anyway, the fried rice was so moist, and when I tasted it, I was like, well, let me taste it first, because I always put soy sauce on my fried rice. I like soy sauce. And then every once in a while, I put maybe one packet of sweet and sour, and then the soy sauce, I kind of drench it in that, because you kind of need to make it moist and all of that. So I was like, but I can't do that. I can't spoil it, because when I'm doing this reaction on the video, if I put the soy sauce on first and I take a taste and I don't like it or something, y'all be like, you messed it up with the soy sauce. I know how people are. So I was like, I got to try it plain first. So I put my little fork in there, and heaven, fucking heaven. I was like, what? It's happening here. I took a bite, and I was expecting to take that one bite and then give the reaction. I took 4 bites. I was like, hold on, y'all. I gotta wait because this is different. It's some what is happening here to my mouth? I can't. It's addictive. And I mean, moist. You by the time I didn't eat half because I was rushing too because I didn't want to be late for court. I didn't put no soy sauce on it. I didn't need it. You didn't need it. I was like, what is this? I didn't know you could have fried rice without needing condiments. Then there was the lobster ragoon. Very good because I like it where it's softer at the part where it's actually stuffed, not like so crunchy. But the edges were crispy and crunchy. Perfect. I put a little sweet and sour on there. I tried it first by itself. Totally fine. You can eat them by themselves. But I put the sweet and sour on those. The Southwest egg roll, I didn't put nothing on that. That was really good. It was thin though, like like them real thin and maybe about that long. Is that long? It looked longer on TV than on this camera. But anyway, had that. Y'all did that. Guess where I'm going when guess where I'm going on November 1st or whatever day I go back to St. Louis. Lefties. And I ain't getting no half order. And I'm not rushing when I get it. I'm getting it when I'm heading to the hotel or Airbnb so I can watch reality shows and chow down. And I'm going to try something different too. Well, I'm getting the fried rice. I ain't messing around. I'm getting that fried rice. And then I'll probably try some other options. Woo! Jesus. Thank y'all. But yeah, that was it. That's my little story time on that. And then the drama that I experienced, because I'm noticing y'all ain't dropped off on these numbers yet. But the drama I experienced was, so I usually get an Airbnb when I'm there. Y'all already know this from the trial. And I love this one particular place that I will not share because I don't want y'all meeting me. I don't want no crazies meeting me there. But this is one particular place that I love, and I've just been staying there ever since. So I booked that place for yesterday for this as well, and I booked it like 2 weeks ago. I want to say a week and a half ago. No, because the dates kept changing, as y'all see with these court hearings. So I got nervous about like even Tim's December 15th. I already have that reserved. Now I got to change that date, and I'm like, forget it. So I'm waiting until it gets a little closer now. So I reserved that one. Reserved my normal place and did my normal thing. And then I didn't even think anything else about it until I packed my car up. I got my equipment. I got my green screen. I got my extra computer monitor. I pack up. I basically travel with my office. I go to the gas station and I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't look at my, like, what's my unit number? What's my key code to get in the building? All the email they send you with all the details of, your stay. While I'm waiting on my car to fill up with gas, I'm looking, scrolling, like, what are they on email? Like, it should be here. Because usually they send it like the day before or something. I'm like, where the hell is it? And then I get a few days back. And they had sent me an email, because I don't check my emails every day. I ain't in corporate America no more. I don't check them every day. So they sent me an email pretty much right after I reserved, wanted me to verify that I was the right person and I wasn't fraudulently using my card. And it was like, if you don't reply by this point, this date or whatever, we're going to cancel your reservation. Well, that was like a week ago. I didn't see the email. And so I realized literally 4 hours before check-in or whatever it was that I had nowhere to stay. and I knew I couldn't cancel on y'all, nor did I want to. Like, I was like, I got to get to there. So I end up getting on Hopper, reserved a hotel. Got to the hotel. All that part was fine. Reserved the hotel for 2 days. Get to the hotel, and that was the night I was gonna go live. And I told VIP knows I forgot my power adapter for the MacBook. Then I had to get online to order from the Apple Store. The Best Buy was about to close. It was a lot. So then I just decided I ordered Grubhub. No, I ordered DoorDash. I ordered a pizza, and so I'm like, it's too much. Today was too much. I'm just gonna eat my pizza and watch Real Housewives of Potomac. And I'm trying to watch the Real Housewives of Potomac, and that internet was not having it. It was blurry. It was doing all kind of stuff. And I said, this ain't going to work for no live. And so at that point, I was like, I got to check out of this hotel because I got to go live the next night for y'all after the trial. And so I canceled my second night, and I was like, I'm just going to have to drive home and try to go live. And that's what I tried to do. And then by the time I got home, I couldn't set up and be ready for y'all. So that's how we got here. It was a lot. I was going through a lot, y'all. But anyway, those are my little story times. Don't forget that we have our new Facebook group, which is Vale's Important People Community, the VIPs. And that's where, we can be more of a community and share things. I'm going to again post that in the VIP group so that you guys can see the actual name. Do we have any? No, let me make sure. No star comments or anything. And then also thank all of you who have donated via Super Chat and any other means, Cash Apps, Zelles, all of that. I really appreciate you guys. It does go a long way to help me with staying in Airbnbs to do this work and equipment. And when I lose or leave my power adapter and I have to spend $100, $107 impromptu to be able to, do this work, that those things go far. Thank you, my YouTube moderators. I really appreciate you. Lisa Diane Hunt and anybody else that Marianne Coker. I'm trying to scroll through real quick. And anybody else who's on that side that I may be missing. Alice Blessed Child of God, you were in the background on the StreamYard side as well. So at this point, I'm going to bring up my backstage StreamYard moderators. These are the ladies who display your wonderful comments on the screen. And tonight we have Kimyaka, who's been working with me for a while, and we finally got her completely ready to be on screen. So I'm going to add Go Gadget Bridget, Alice Blessed Child of God, and Kimyaka, just to say hi to you good people, if they are connected, because I see everybody's mute.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And Alice. And I don't know what Go Gadget Bridget doing. She's an Aries, just like me, so she's always multitasking. We're always doing the most, and so I'm sure she's probably doing something. Okay, I'm gonna drop you ladies down. I'll see you in a minute. Thank you so much, ladies. So, let me see. Oh, this person. Let's see. Vale, you need your own personal Wi-Fi. Check whoever does internet service. I don't know what that means, Simply Red, because this is like a single fam household. So this is our own internet. I don't know do I need a whole contact Xfinity and say I need my own tower? I don't I'm not in a building or anything. But with that, I thank all of you for joining this evening. We'll be back live. I wanted to do another live with Hot Topics. I honestly wanted to do that today, but I knew that y'all would burn me at the stake if I didn't give y'all this information. So that's why we're doing it now. But I'll be back. I hate to say days and then don't, but I'm looking at Sunday morning, coming back with a live where we just talk about the weekend review, the hot topics, because there's been some stuff happening and the stuff on YouTube with Armand and Jason Lee. I know some of you, I get messages like, I don't want the drama stuff. I mean, you don't have to listen. These are things that, that I follow, and I know many of you follow as well. And so that's what this channel is about us, bonding over those things we care about. And the truth is, I watch those things. I watch those people. Oh yeah. And Alice Blessed Child of God, her birthday was, I'm sorry, let me say this. Alice Blessed Child of God, her birthday was on this past Monday. And we sent her happy birthday wishes in the VIP community. And she wanted to send her thanks. But again, the way that system is set up, it's like, I can't be spamming y'all. But VIP Facebook group is going to be a great place for us to do those things in the future. So, but anyway, so I will see you guys on Sunday morning or afternoon, but I'll schedule it so you'll see it. And then we'll just, we'll chit chat some more, but talk about some of those things because, it's a lot happening. and not just the YouTube drama, but trending topics, and kind of want to talk to y'all about the Housewives of Potomac and what's happening there and all the stuff I'm really into. So, and that we're into. So with that, that is all that I have for you. I won't hold it any longer. Let me get to my room temperature Chinese food and hope that I know it ain't gonna be as good as that Missouri Chinese food ain't, but I'm gonna work with what I got. So with that, until next time, I'm gonna send you guys out with our commercial, and thank you guys. Have a blessed night. Peace.